Blacks in Technology.
Blacks in technology. Blacks in technology. Blacks in technology. Blacks in technology. Blacks in technology.
Welcome, everybody, to the 14th episode of the Blacks in Technology audio podcast. My name is Greg Greenlee. I'll be your host today, and tonight we have Kevin Michael. Kevin is the co-founder and managing partner at Invizio, a company out of Miami. Is that correct?
Yes, correct, Greg.
Okay, and you do IT support services there. Anything from IT support to IT management to IT infrastructure. So we want to go ahead and welcome Kevin to the show. Thanks, Kevin, for taking some time out of your day to join us here.
Thank you very much, Greg. It's a pleasure to be on with you.
Great. So tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us, where you're from, where you reside right now, and how you are involved with Invizio.
Okay, wonderful. Originally, I'm from Antigua and Barbuda, so I grew up in the Caribbean, and I moved here to Miami about 8 years ago for school. So I actually graduated from the University of Miami with a Bachelor of Science in Information Technology and Software Engineering with a second major in Computer Science. Currently, I'm back here in South Florida managing Invizio. We're an IT services company, as you mentioned earlier. We focus on managing IT infrastructure, providing IT support for small businesses that don't have someone on site, an in-house IT staff member to take care of their IT. So in terms of what I do at Invizio, my primary responsibility is taking care of the company, managing strategy and operations of the company, and being the face, handling sales and marketing efforts.
Excellent. So how long has Invizio been in business?
Invizio has been around for 2.5 years currently. We're turning, a bit more than 2.5 years. We're turning 3 in September. And Invizio was started in 2008 after I actually left working with Citigroup as a project manager. Myself and a close friend of mine got together and decided that we wanted to be in business for ourselves, we wanted to work for ourselves, and we wanted to be able to provide services to companies that are in the marketplace that have a need for someone with IT expertise. So that's sort of how long Invizio's been around and our primary purpose for starting it.
Sounds good. It's real good to see, young African American men being entrepreneurs in today's economic climate. Can you tell us a little bit about what's so important today about being an entrepreneur and the climate that we're in economically, and also being a black entrepreneur?
Okay. Well, in terms of entrepreneurship in general and sort of where we are in the economy right now, I think that when you look at the United States economy, what you will find is that most of the business, most of the employment that takes place in this country is driven on the backs of small businesses. And when we talk about economic recovery in this nation, you have to look for not only large companies to start hiring again, but you need to see opportunities where small businesses are entering the marketplace, individuals who are either laid off from their place of employment or just desirous of being entrepreneurs are going out there, starting new companies, finding the funding to make it happen, and also hiring people as a result. And that's when you see, and that's why entrepreneurship in general is very important, and especially now in these times, because in order for us to get back to where we were, we need to be able to see more small businesses, small companies, individuals going out, starting up with a great idea or a great product or a great service, getting out there and really sort of reinvigorating the economy.
Excellent. Yeah, I totally agree about that. It's something that, especially in the African American community, something that we need to really, really focus on. Especially in today's, like I said, economic climate, being an entrepreneur is going to be key in motoring along America's economic growth.
Agreed. And I think in terms of being a minority entrepreneur, just to answer the second part of your question, Greg, I think that in terms of being a minority entrepreneur, that's also very much needed as well. traditionally speaking, minority businesses are a smaller portion, a smaller percentage of the businesses here in the U.S. And as a minority entrepreneur myself, I think it's really important that members of our community get involved in sort of deciding their own destiny and sort of taking charge of their own futures by becoming business owners, by being investors in startup companies, by sort of basically supporting the entrepreneurial journey that is America. So I think that's also a very important thing that as a minority, we need to be more involved. We need to be more involved with and involved in.
Yeah, I agree totally. But tell me this: how did you get your start in IT? And I mean, let's go way back. When did that spark of, and it's kind of funny that I'm asking this because I noticed I looked at the video of you on NBC in Miami. So congratulations about that as well, being featured on that. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you can go out to Invizio's website as well as the Blacks in Technology website. I got the video of your interview posted on there as well. But Kevin was featured on NBC in Miami. He talked a little bit about Invizio, but you also said something that was that caught my attention, and that you're really not focused on technology as much as you are the business aspect of it.
Yes,
is that
correct.
Right? Okay.
Yeah, correct. So let me answer your question, actually, and I think this is a very interesting question for you to ask. My start in technology began many, many years ago. I was actually about 12 or 13 years old, I think, when my dad bought me my first computer, and this is 1997. In Antigua at the time, we still had dial-up internet, as did most places in the world at the time, actually. And with no one there to necessarily teach me how to use a computer or anything, I just showed up one day and here it was sitting on a desk in the living room. I had to go about teaching myself how to use a computer and really just learn everything on my own. So at about 13 or 14 years old, I actually became more curious as to, what makes these things work. And so I went out and bought my first CD drive, I remember, and to install a CD burner on my computer, and bought a magazine that actually was sort of a guide. I don't remember which magazine it was at the time, but was sort of a guide as to how to build and repair your own PC. And, my career in technology has kind of taken off since then. So by 14, I was working as a computer repair technician after school, just sort of an after-school activity. And when I graduated from high school and I thought to myself, what field can I really do well in? I thought that, technology and IT or anything having to do with computers was really the direction that I wanted to go in. And at my high school, we actually had a lot of training at the time in IT. That was a subject that we took in order to graduate from high school. Not in order to. It was one of the subjects you could take in graduating from high school. And so I learned basics of programming on Pascal in high school, actually. And so when I graduated from high school and I decided to go to the University of Miami, instantly being in tech was sort of the direction that I wanted to be in. Now, I will admit that when I started at the University of Miami, I was a computer engineering major, okay?
Okay.
And it just sounded like the coolest thing to do, and not having an engineer, necessarily anyone to guide me as to what major necessarily to select, I just thought computer engineering was a logical choice. But 3 years into my major, I realized that that computer engineering wasn't necessarily for me. And it wasn't that I didn't love the subject. It's just that I didn't necessarily like the electrical side of the program. And so I found myself more in love with software. And at the time, I made a decision to go ahead and switch my major over to information technology, which was actually in the College of Engineering at the University of Miami, and also take on computer science as a second major. So my last year or so in college.
Let me interject something real quick, if you don't mind. Sorry to interrupt, but engineering is a different beast altogether from just information technology. And I know this because I have engineering degree as well. Now the thing about it is when I first started into my engineering degree, it was really the only thing that was offered at the school that I was attending as far as anything computer related. The only other thing that was computer related was software engineering. So I thought this was, I wanted to get into computers and things like that, so I thought this was the logical choice. The key word being engineering. And as the years went on, they started to gain more courses in like database administration, computer network, administration, things like that. But I was already so far into my engineering program that it wouldn't have made sense to switch over to a different major. But I definitely feel your pain with that. Computer network engineering, keyword being engineering, is definitely a different thing altogether. Yeah.
Indeed. No, granted, I definitely love the world of engineering, and I was able to actually be the president of the National Society of Black Engineers chapter at UM my senior year, and so I stayed very much involved with the world of engineering, and the training that I got in engineering, meaning the analytical and problem solving ability, have done me well not only in my career as in IT but also in business. So just to finish up the last part there, I just wanted to say that, software has always been my love. And so when by the third year, I realized that that's the direction that I should be going in. Yep.
Okay, great. I also want to point out that you are also a member of the Miami-Dade Chamber of Commerce, the Coral Gables Chamber of Commerce. And are you still actively the treasurer of the University of Miami College of Engineering Alumni Association?
Actually, my term just ended this past May, so I'm continuing to be active in the association as a supporter of our events and assisting the students that are there currently matriculating through the programs. But in terms of my involvement on the executive committee, that's currently over.
Okay, now here's a off-the-wall question. Let me ask you this. What is in the water in Antigua? Because the reason why I ask this is because I've seen pictures of you before, just on various blogs and things like that. But then I've seen a video of you today on the NBC, and my first thought was, this guy looks like he's 18 years old. You look so young.
Well, you know what? Honestly, man, I don't know if there's anything in the water. I just happen to have that gene. Both my parents still look pretty young for their ages, and so I think some of that might have rubbed off on me.
I got you. So I also want to, point out that in Miami Herald, you were selected as one of the South Florida's 40 under 40 leaders of today and tomorrow. So congratulations on that as well.
Thank you.
Tell me, why do you think IT is such a great field to be in right now?
Well, I think IT is a great field to be in. I watched this video probably 2 years ago when I was actually going through an MBA program, where it pretty much demonstrated that the amount of technical knowledge that we have is increasing at such a rapid rate that if someone were to start out studying in technology or any technical field, by their third year in study, anything they've learned in their first year of study is already obsolete or at least antiquated in some way. And so I think IT is a great field to be in because it's constantly changing. And so in terms of the needs of society with respect to information technology, that's ever adapting, that's ever changing. And so someone who wants to have a career and truly have a career in any industry over the long term can be in IT because it's always something new to learn, and they can always retrain themselves in order to maintain a job and to continue to build their career. So I think that's the primary reason why I think that IT is great. But also, I think right now, because of what's happening in the healthcare space in particular, with the reforms that are taking place, with the recognition of our leaders that information technology is sort of the last thing. Healthcare is one of the last industries that IT is really, truly being adopted in from top to bottom, that there's a lot of opportunity being created in IT, in healthcare IT in particular.
Yeah. Being from Antigua, and I don't know much about Antigua, but what are you doing anything, to give back to Antigua? Like, is there any plans on doing anything as far as that goes?
Well, currently nothing that we're doing actively. I definitely think that as a company, and by the way, my business partner Kyle is actually a native of Antigua and Barbuda as well. We went to high school together, and so I think as a company, we definitely would like to continue to contribute to IT and develop the community in whatever way we can, whether it's here in Miami or also in Antigua. And my initial thought towards that has always been that at some point, we would try to fund scholarships or at least training in IT to students that might have gone to our high school, or if something in a broader sense opens up in terms of the country or the community as a whole, then we would also consider that as well. So that's something that we feel passionately about. That not only as business owners, but as minority business owners, that we have the sort of corporate social responsibility to give back to our communities. And so that takes the form of obviously offering scholarship opportunities, but I think over the long term, as we continue to grow, to try to actively hire from within our community. So folks that go through a technical training degree at an ITT Tech or in Miami Fast Train or one of those other technical career colleges, that we'd hire folks from our community to be part of our business and offer internship opportunities to kids that are going through programs.
Gotcha. Tell me a little bit about your entrepreneurial journey. Like what was it that clicked in you that said, hey, I want to get out and venture out on my own and start my own business?
Well, I think there are a couple of things. I think I had a lot of inspiration in my life, fortunately, because both my mother and my father have been in business in some way for many years. My mom, in particular, owns her own set of clothing stores, retail clothing stores in Antigua. And so that was a good spark. And I had other examples in my community of people that started their own business. But I think that having gone through a 4-year program at the University of Miami in engineering and IT, and then having gone on to work for a corporation like Citigroup, one of the things that definitely sparked in me was the recognition that the knowledge and the information that is needed for me to be successful in life, I can apply that not only to someone else's place of business, but I could actually take the risk as a young adult, because I'm only 25 now, and as a young adult, take a risk, start a company now, and be able to build a future for myself at sort of without much to lose. Your worst case scenario, if the business didn't work out, I could always go back to work. Excellent. So that was really my motivation for getting started. Just the recognition that I have a skill set, I have a background that allows me to start a company, and in the event that I started at 22 and it didn't work out, that I could actually still return to the workforce and maybe try something later on. So those are some of the motivations that I had.
That's excellent. 25, man, that's you've accomplished quite a bit already. That's a testament of your work ethic and your drive. So that's great.
Thank you.
I want to give people a little bit of background on how you and I actually connected. There was I think it was a blog or a posting. Was that Black Enterprise?
Yeah, blackenterprise.com.
Okay. Yeah, blackenterprise.com, and there was an article about cloud computing, and there was sort of a debate between you and Thaddeus. And Thaddeus is actually a member on Blacks in Technology, so it was kind of funny that we kind of ran into each other. And you were more of an advocate for cloud computing, and I was too. So we were kind of double teaming up on Thaddeus. And he was. I wouldn't say he was against it, but he was, more cautious towards cloud computing. So you're a big advocate of cloud computing. You actually you recently did some business with a law firm, and you were able to save them. What was that? $63,000 in annual expenses.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Actually, turned out to be a bit more than that, but
okay.
It was a law firm here in Miami that we worked with, and we helped save them a decent amount of money. I could call it a decent amount of money with using cloud technology. Yes. Okay, so
sometimes we when we talk technology, we kind of tend to go over people's heads because we're talking at a higher level than most can understand. So let's start from a lower level and move up and if you don't mind telling people about what cloud computing is, why you're such an advocate for it, and why it made business sense for that law firm to actually move into the cloud.
Okay. So I think a lot of people. Well, first off, I just want to say that cloud is such a buzzword right now in our community as technologists, and it's really, I think, more of the marketing spin around computing that we've been using for many years. But it's just that at this particular junction in our history, that a lot of things will come together to make it something that can be communicated to the masses, right? And so cloud computing, in my mind, the way I typically would like to define cloud computing is essentially the use of computing resources that are not owned by you or on your own hardware, but on someone else's, so hosted in a data center or hosted by a third party, that allows you as a consumer of cloud services to take advantage of those resources, either to store information or process information. So that's sort of my high-level definition of cloud computing. Now, in terms of why I'm an advocate for the cloud and why I think cloud made sense for the law firm that we worked with, I'm a huge believer in cloud, mainly because of the economies of scale that it represents in general. So I think that because I'm coming from a small business background and many of the customers that I deal with are small businesses, I think that their typical concern tends to be, well, where do I find the financing or the capital to go about investing in technology that will either make me more productive, more effective, or more competitive in my marketplace? And as a result, I think that because the cloud allows you to pay for your services in a sort of pay-as-you-go fashion, you skip the upfront investment, you're able to get a big bang for your buck. And I think that what the technologies out there are allowing us to do, like, whether it be the technology that Google is providing, whether it's Microsoft or any one of these cloud service providers, or even any provider that's providing software as a service, like a Salesforce or a FreshBooks or any one of those companies, what they're really doing is allowing the Davids of this economy to fight against the Goliaths of this economy, because small businesses now are equipped with all of these technology tools that otherwise would cost them a lot in upfront investment. So I think that's why I'm a big proponent of cloud services in general. Now, to tell you a bit more about the background with this law firm here in Miami, they're a client of ours. They approached us last year in about August last year, and they wanted to be able to transform their business model. They wanted to not only be able to provide services to their clients in their physical location that they had in downtown Miami, but be able to expand that definition of where and when they practice law. And part of the driver for their project was really that they needed to reduce their expenses. They needed to get out of their Class A office space. They needed to find a way to save money because the economy has turned, and as a result, their business was affected. So in order for them to effectively become a virtual law firm, they had to close their office space. They had to relocate their office space, rather. They had to relocate their office space into virtual office spaces, so pay-as-you-go office space, essentially, and then be able to work from not only home to provide their attorneys better work-life balance, but also be able to work wherever their clients felt it was convenient. And so the obvious driver there, the obvious answer, in my mind at least, is to move their computing platform, their technology, the software that they use, the data that they work with, their case files, everything, into a cloud-based server that will allow them to work virtually in a sort of virtual desktop infrastructure setup. So that's what really drove. Those are the drivers for the project, and that's really why it made sense for them, because they were going to give up their physical location anyway, and then they wanted to be more mobile, more flexible. So cloud was the obvious answer.
Gotcha.
Yep.
And you were actually featured in the June issue of Black Enterprise, and the article was the 5 reasons to consider moving to the cloud. Mm-hmm. Can you tell us what are those 5 reasons?
Okay, so the 5 reasons, I think I've already discussed one at some length. It's the basically the flexibility in terms of cost, being able to pay as you go in terms of what you need. I think that is probably one of the biggest reasons to consider moving to the cloud. In addition to that, I definitely also believe that being able to have these systems that are hosted for you by a third party and maintaining a secure data center, such as one that you work at, Greg, actually, gives that sort of uptime and the availability to a business that businesses typically require in order to be effective. So that availability, that uptime guarantees that you typically get, the sort of peace of mind knowing that you don't necessarily have to be an IT expert or have an IT person on staff to make sure that your server stays up and running, but that is being taken care of for you. The third very attractive reason in my mind is that in terms of from a business continuity standpoint, many organizations, let's say a law firm that we work with, law firms that we work with, they'll have an on-site server, and God forbid that their unit gets flooded or there's a fire in the building, that information that's stored on that server is gone, and that's a very critical component of their business. So being able to protect themselves from disaster and being able to operate through disaster scenarios are a very attractive reason for being in the cloud. That way, regardless of what happens to your physical location, and in Miami, hurricanes are quite a reality for us, you can actually still maintain control of your data, being able to access that, or you could swing operations over to a different location and continue operating. So that's another great reason. Fourth reason, I think, is, as I mentioned, you don't have to be an IT expert. So from a business owner standpoint, they can focus on running their business. If you're in the business of law, do law. If you're in the business of accounting, focus on crunching the numbers and making sure that people's tax returns go in. Don't worry about whether or not your IT system is up and running. And then the last and final reason that I outlined in that article was for businesses to take advantage of on-demand scalability. So, Greg, you and I know that this applies more so to folks that are application builders or host their own in-house applications. But for us, in the small business space, it really means that we can flip on a new server, just with the click of a button. And that's a very important thing, particularly for businesses that are seasonal, if it's a retail business, or for companies that are expanding and need additional resources. So we can flip on another virtual instance of a server, or we can shut down their existing server and bring it up with more resources. So it's just a matter of having the flexibility to scale up or down as needed.
Great. Thanks for giving our audience that overview of cloud computing. I work with cloud computing every day. Where I work at, we actually offer a public cloud offering. So I'm quite well aware of cloud computing, how it works, how businesses can leverage cloud computing and whatnot. But some people out there, like you said, it's just a buzzword to them, and it seems almost kind of mythical. And sometimes I like to, kind of have someone kind of explain exactly what it is, and just so it's something more tangible to someone as opposed to it's just in the cloud, Right. So great overview. Let's talk about Invizio and being a business owner. What are some of the things that you look for in an employee, like skill sets? Do you look for experience? Do you look for certifications, or all of the above?
Okay, so just to give you a little idea, we focus primarily on two areas, really. I mean, it's IT support and management, and we bill ourselves as being a virtual IT department for organizations without in-house staff. So for us, we really are at the front lines of IT in terms of what we do. We're helping customers each day resolve their issues as they arise, whether that be an issue with a software application, or sometimes it might be basic desktop support where a computer dies on them or a hard drive crashes. And so we're dealing with customers all the time. And so when I think about the qualifications and what we look for in an employee of our business, we really think about the customer service piece first. Of course, we're doing IT, we're in a technical field, but this really is a customer service-driven business. If your technician or your staff member is unable to communicate effectively with customers, in order to put on a smile and be friendly and be cordial to your customers, then you're going to be out of business. So we look for people that are customer service oriented, whether or not they come into our business with the necessary technical background. I mean, they have to be technically inclined. They have to have a true desire to learn, because the thing about IT is that you will never know it all. You will never walk in here with all the certifications needed to do everything in your job. You need to have a learning attitude. That's probably one of the second most important thing for us. So not only do you have to be customer service oriented, you have to have a learning desire. As far as certifications go, we look at folks that are coming in either with a basic A+ certification training, or at least having some experience in help desk environments. Those things tend to work really well. And then because most of our customers are in Windows-based networks, experience with Windows-based networks, if you're MCITP, on pretty much any server technology, whether it's Server 03 or Server 08, then we're more than happy to have a conversation with such a candidate.
How large is your staff right now, if you don't mind me asking?
No, we're still growing. We're still I would call a real small business, but currently it's 3 of us in terms of our staff, and so we focus on really providing that great customer service to our clients and having the resources necessary to make sure that when someone calls and they have a concern, that they're dealt with in a prompt fashion.
Tell me, one of the major obstacles that you faced as an entrepreneur, business owner, when you first started the business.
Well, entrepreneurs I think first-time entrepreneurs, and I'm definitely one of them. We make a lot of different mistakes, and in my case, I think that one of the things that we could have done better starting out was to be, somewhat better capitalized. I think that's one area that we could have definitely done a better job of in. And in terms of obstacles, I think that for any new business, you always have to face this concept that you're unproven, that because you're a new company, you have no track record, and so you have to prove yourself. Someone has to trust you and give you that opportunity for you to really get started. And I think also another component of that is that, in order for you to overcome that, you really have to, find individuals who believe in what you're doing and how you're doing it, and then get those people to be advocates on your behalf. Get them to say, well, we actually like Invizio. These guys are great. You should definitely give them a try. So once you're able to get advocates for your business, you're definitely able to overcome that. And so I think that, getting that track record is definitely one major obstacle that almost any entrepreneur faces.
Great. What are, I guess I kind of covered my next question. My next question was, what are a couple of things that people who go into business should know before they actually, well, I guess that's kind of a different question. Can you think of a couple of things that people who want to go into business should definitely know before they do anything?
Well, you see these articles all the time when they talk about, the 5 traits of an entrepreneur and all this other stuff. And those things are great too. But I think that in general, one of the things that anyone getting into business should definitely have an open mind towards is that they don't have the answers. They will never have all the answers. And I know that's hard for some people who may be obsessive compulsive or control freaks, but the truth is you don't know all the answers. In our case, and speaking to technology specifically, many folks that start out in a technical business have a technical background. Naturally we're not salespeople, we're not marketing people. Sometimes you don't even know how to do bookkeeping, right? And so if you're going to go out and you're going to start a business, you need to be able to build a team of people and providers that are going to be able to alleviate the pains that you may face, the things that you don't know, fill in the gaps of knowledge that you have. And so you definitely have to be have an open mind towards that. And I think that's probably my single most biggest piece of advice for anyone wanting to get into business.
Gotcha. That's excellent advice. I know that I'm actually going through those pains right now, just trying to make the Blacks in Technology site run more efficiently, so that I'm not, doing everything. And There's things that I don't know how to do, that, when we started the site, it was more out of a passion for wanting to, build a community of black people that are in technology, as opposed to, planning out, a vision for it or anything like that. It was kind of like, hey, this sounds like a great idea. Let's put this together, and boom. But fortunately, it's worked out better than I would have thought. So, but yeah, that's definitely great advice. One thing, we have a mutual acquaintance, and that's Kai Dupuy. You say you met Kai Dupuy in Dallas. You say you were living there?
Yeah, so actually when I graduated, I moved to Dallas, and I was working at Citigroup as a project manager, as I mentioned before. And during that time, I used to head out to the Dallas BDPA, Black Data Processing Association. And Kai was a speaker at one of the meetings, and this was back in 2000. I want to say 2007, 2008, around that time. Okay. And that's when I first met Kai. And so Kai has always been a strong advocate for minorities, in particular blacks, in technology, and really being a part of the revolution that we have in entrepreneurship and in technology and software. And so, I found it very fascinating that you'd also interviewed Kai. Yeah. Big up to Kai Dupuy, man. He's a great mind and a great person, to know, definitely. One of the things that that me and him discussed is he's always, like you say, he's an advocate for trying to get more, minorities into technology and trying to bridge that gap. And one of the things that I discussed with him was, to me, it's not more of a thing of getting the people who are already interested in technology to go ahead and make that jump into it. It's more or less, how do we get the people who wouldn't even shake a stick at technology to take a look at it and say, hey, this might be something that could be beneficial to me financially, could help me out, and could be a good career choice. What do you think is something that we all could do more of to kind of help bring more minorities over into technology? Wow, that's a big question. I think that one of the primary difficulties that we have in our community, and when I say community, I mean black community, is that we always perceive people that are in science and technology to be nerds or geeks or something that I think really prevents children and even sometimes adults from really wanting to be in a technical field. And so I think that as technologists, it's kind of incumbent upon us to humanize the geek, if you will, to make people realize that it's not this nerdy, this geeky, this sort of whacked out stuff that we're doing sitting on a computer every day, but it's really that these are really cool things that we work with that have true impact to organizations and businesses that we're employed by or that we own and operate, and just be advocates. I think we just have to be better advocates of people in our community in technology, and so that means. If you're supporting any type of nonprofit that is involved with children, going out there and speaking with the kids about what you do, or speaking with the community about what you do, and that could be anywhere. That could be at your church, that could be at your local school, that could be in any sort of association that you're involved in. And so I think that just being a better advocate for blacks in technology, as this podcast is titled and your site is titled, is a really important thing. Yeah, I definitely 100% agree with that. And one of the things that I try to do, and I've done a few talks here and there locally, is try to make it, basically just try to disassociate the stigma that people have, the preconceived notion that being a geek is this, and they have this image of whoever with glasses and high waters. And so, one of the things that I like to do is, in my presentation, I usually, I'll show like a picture of the guys from Revenge of the Nerds,
right?
Right.
And then I'll say, yeah, I'm a geek, but I'm not this geek. I'm this geek. And then I'll show a picture of 10 to 12 black entrepreneurs who are in technology,
Right.
and say, hey, this is who you need to associate, IT technology with, as opposed to associating it with this. And then I also, in one of my slides, I'll list my playlist in my MP3 player. I'll list,
Right.
hey, I listen to, hip hop. This is what I listen to on a day-to-day basis. And growing up throughout my life, I'm not this person just because, I'm in computers. And so I try to, that's what I try to do, because that's to me, that's a huge thing that, within our community, that, kids, they see computers and they see science and they see technology as being, quote unquote, like a white person's career. And it's not that way at all, especially in today's age, So, yeah, as a matter of fact, on one of our upcoming podcasts, we actually have an African-American woman who's she does game animation.
Right, and that's even more atypical. I mean, in terms of the role models that the kids are exposed to, they may think about a male being involved in technology, but not often are they thinking about females designing games, for that matter. So I definitely agree with you.
Well, great, Kevin. I definitely want to, and I don't know if you signed up or not on the Black Technology site, but if you haven't, I want to invite you to, become a member. There's some great things going on, some great discussions about technology. You can get on there. You can promote your business all you want. It's an open forum. So I don't put any restrictions on anybody if they want to, post anything about their business. It's all about us helping each other and us, promoting each other as well. So I definitely want to invite you to that. And we have a site redesign on the way. It's going to help us to show off some of the features of our site, because there's things on our site that some people don't know about. We have like video cast on there. We have video how-tos and things like that, and we're going to be doing even more of that. And right now I'm trying to get together a team of people who blog or who really into the IT news, day to day, and to set up posts and things like that, so they can have their own spot on the site to where they can continuously update it with the recent news and technology and blogs and things like that. So it's definitely going to be something great coming. Hopefully we'll be rolling it out in July. So I definitely want to, like I said, invite you to be a member on the site if you're not already as well. And I want to thank you for joining us on the podcast and taking time out your day to give us some words of insight, as well as some background into Kevin Michael.
Well, I certainly appreciate you having me on, Greg. I'm happy that we had this chance to connect and talk about technology, what I'm doing, and sort of some of my thoughts and perspectives. And I really appreciate that you're trying to expose more folks to what it means to be a black in technology.
Great. And before you go ahead and shout out any URLs, any Twitter names, or anything like that that is associated with you and your business.
Okay, well, thank you very much for the opportunity for the shameless plug. I never turned that down. Folks, if you want to check us out some more, our website is www.invizio.com, and that's with the Z. You can check us out on Twitter at the handle Invizio, INVIZIO. Also on Facebook.com/Invizio. You can definitely check us out. Make sure you check out our blog as well. It's on invizio.com/blog. We have some exciting stuff coming up. We're going to be starting a video series in partnership with the South Florida Caribbean News, which is an online news portal here for Caribbean professionals in South Florida, but definitely for everyone across the world to come and check out. So feel free to check us out at any one of those URLs. As Greg mentioned, I had an interview. We had an interview last week, Friday, at NBC6 local TV here in Miami, and you can check that interview out also at youtube.com/Invizio TV. So, Greg, thanks again for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity to be on.
You're definitely welcome, man. Let's keep in touch, and let's keep the movement going, man.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. You too.
Blacks in technology.
Blacks in technology. Blacks in technology. Blacks in technology. Blacks in technology. Blacks in technology.